Good morning. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show, Red Pill Edition. My name's Leon Jones, and in this segment, I want to get right down to the media. So, the title of this morning's video is The Mainstream Media Does Not Determine the Outcome of the Presidency. The mainstream media does not determine the outcome of this presidency. Now, this has to be told because there are a lot of ignorant folks. And I had an ignorant person come on to my YouTube channel. And this is why I don't allow women on my channel, who was another ignorant black woman. And I'm going to call it out. Her name was Pink Lady. And I hate to say this, a number of African American women have been the right hand of the Democratic Party as long as I've been living. And they still don't get it. They believe in the media. So anybody who leaves an ignorant comment on my channel, I'm going to call you out. And this woman was not well read. She put on here, whatever, Joe Biden still won, without really looking at the litigation that's taken place, without understanding that in December, the electors, they cast the ballots within each state. And then once the ballots are cast, they are then certified by your state. And that determines the outcome of the election. You have a number of individuals right now who did not like President Trump. They're running around like he's victorious. Well, there's fraud taking place. And the Republicans have to continue to fight this fraud. Why? Because if they don't start fighting right now, the Democrats are going to try to cheat in future elections. In fact, the Democrats want to make it right now that this country becomes a dictatorship. I thought we lived in America. But apparently, according to the left, we live in a dictatorship. Now, the media. I used to watch Fox News. Fox News and AP, they called all these states for Biden. But it's funny how the media couldn't call Alaska for Trump. The media also waited a long time to call Texas for Trump. The media also waited a long time to call Florida for Trump. North Carolina should have been called for Trump. Look, this is an easy litigation process. Mail-in voting should not be allowed unless there's a system in place to track ballots. Now, Florida and Washington State are the only two states that I know who have done mail-in voting right. But all these other states, and it's funny how most of the Democrats went out and early voted. Now, if you look at the numbers, realistically, all the early votes should have been counted first. And most of the early votes were Democratic votes. Most of the Republicans did vote early, but they went to the polls. But the question still stands is, why did Georgia, why did Pennsylvania stop counting the votes at 2 a.m? And then they started counting the votes again. Because I believe Pennsylvania wasn't supposed to start counting votes until 12 o'clock that next day. To me, any vote that is not postmarked, throw it out. Mail-in votes with Sharpies, throw them out. See, this whole corruption scheme was to get Donald Trump out of office. But you black people and you black pastors out there are going to forget one thing. Because you black pastors love African American women so much, and I'm not calling out all African American women, but black people, some of you the most ignorant out there when it comes to voting. You claim racism, but yet you want to still be on a mental plantation, and you will always be there. Because a number of you love to be complacent victims. Now, as a black man, I fought for this country in the military. I know how tough it is. But I'm not going to be one that's going to give up on the fight. Because the media in this country and big tech had it out for Donald Trump. And some of these so-called Republicans, like former Congressman Joe Walsh, Bill Kristol, the Lincoln Project, they're part of this scam too. Jeb Bush, the establishment. And you want to know why this has taken place? Because the establishment is really afraid of Donald Trump. And when you have these so-called elites calling people like me who go to work every day deplorables, we're the ones who know what's going on more than they know what's going on. Because what they're trying to do, they're trying to utilize all their money and all their power to try to bully us. Now, if you look at it, the media did not talk about the Hunter Biden situation. The media did not talk about the riots taking place, and the riots taking place in all these liberal cities by liberal Democrats. That included groups like Black Lives Matter and Antifa. Why? Because all these groups supported Joe Biden and the Democratic Party. Now, something else that you all need to watch as well, you need to check the media on this. There are 2 Senate races going on in Georgia. And when a candidate in Georgia, and of course Louisiana, doesn't reach 50%, guess what happens? They have a runoff in January. So now the Republicans have to win one of those seats, because if it ends up in a tie, and let's say Joe Biden is president by that time, then Kamala Harris is the tiebreaker. Therefore, the left can put in all their socialist policies. Now, I have to ask this question. Why does the media hate Donald Trump so much? Because for the past 4 years, the media's been saying Donald Trump has been an illegitimate president. The media said the process of putting Amy Coney Barrett in should have happened after the election. No, he has 4 years, not 3 years and 11 months. He can appoint a Supreme Court justice to fill a seat, and the Senate must vote to either confirm or not confirm that person. And you have big tech, social media in this country. They're deleting a lot of conservative comments so conservatives can't get that information out. Now, what I suggest conservatives to do is get an email list. You can still get that information out. Be like me. Do a blog talk radio show. We need to come together and actually form our own media. Now, the media I'm going to tell people to go to right now is Newsmax. That's the best media right now on television. Smaller cable news channel, but go to Newsmax. Newsmax has not called Arizona. Okay, there's OAN. There are other small media outlets. Angry Man. He calls himself the street conservative guy. Brandon Tatum. Candace Owens. Greg Foreman is another guy. Come to my channel. Because it's funny, here on Black YouTube, there are a number of individuals here on Black YouTube who've given up. But these are the individuals on Black YouTube who know nothing about politics. But going back to the black community definitely believes in the media. They have a number of huckabucking pastors. These pastors aren't getting out there for the black community because these pastors are afraid that if they get out there and really talk about something, they'll offend black women. Now, again, I'm not calling out all black women, but a number of black women I've seen on media, they're up there celebrating the so-called victory for Joe Biden, and he hasn't won anything yet because of the litigation that's going through now, or the litigation that will be going through starting with Pennsylvania tomorrow. Georgia's going to have recounts. I believe there's lawsuits in Wisconsin. There are lawsuits in Michigan. Now, Arizona was called by Fox News and AP first, but Arizona didn't finish counting their ballots. And I see the number getting smaller and smaller for Joe Biden in Arizona. And see, the Republicans can win that lawsuit in Pennsylvania. They win Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina. Game over for Joe Biden. President Trump maintains his presidency. Now, right now, Trump's got to make that case. He can win the PR battle. But the media in this country, particularly the CNNs of the world, the MSNBCs with Joy Reid and Nicole Wallace and Joe Scarborough, they've been a failure. The media is corrupt. A lot of these media outlets are run by corporate America. Now, I can understand why Fox is going in a direction away from conservatism or fair and balanced, because Fox News was bought by Disney. Disney owns ABC and they own ESPN. If you look at it, when you employ Donna Brazile on your channel, that tells me the legitimacy of your channel, because Donna Brazile was the one that gave the questions to Hillary Clinton when she worked at CNN. When you have people like roly-poly Roland Martin, who didn't do a good job at CNN and TV One, he's another of these beta males out here who's for Joe Biden. But with black people, I'm just disappointed in a number of you, because you want to be victims. And in the black community, nobody's talking about this black pastor. Nobody. And BLM, who doesn't want to include black men, is using black men to advance their agenda. And with all that being said, everything is media driven in this country. The media is not God. The media does not determine the presidency. The term president-elect was a media-driven term. President-elect, again, does not occur until all of the votes are cast by the electorate, or let's say electric, and then certified by the Secretary of State. Now, what I don't understand right now with this process, you have state legislatures. They need to get involved with this process. Now, it's very important in some of these states to look at who has the state House and the state Senate. The Republicans do. Now, you have a number of Republicans, again, just because they have an R on their sleeve, you cannot trust them. These Republicans out here wanted Trump to fail just like the Democrats. They were all in cahoots. It's more like a coup. You also have the military-industrial complex. You have big tech. You have corporate media. You have all these lobbyist groups. who are basically in line as the establishment. I call them all the establishment party. But what we have to do as Americans, we got to keep fighting. You're going to have a lot of ignorant people on the left. And most people on the left are not very smart people. They're emotional people. And yeah, you can thumb this video down, but a number of you know I'm telling the truth. Because a number of you on the left, you're lazy people. You believe in the media. That's why they cater it to you. You believe in the Cardi B's of the world. You believe in the Joy Reids of the world. You believe in feminism. You believe in a black pastor. And the black community, the Democrats have failed the black community for the past 50 years, but black people keep voting for these Democrats. Black people just don't have the, particularly black men, they don't have the courage to go in a different direction. They don't have the courage to leave. Why? Because they're afraid of the black woman. They're also afraid of confronting this black pastor, because this black pastor is for the black woman. Now, at least the Hispanic community is a little bit more diverse. But Joe Biden, let's talk about racist, because everybody keeps saying Donald Trump is racist. When you're hanging around John Stennis, George Wallace, you're giving a eulogy at Robert KKK Byrd's funeral, and you said Robert KKK Byrd was your mentor? Strom Thurmond? Remember something. The Republican Party was started by black people. But the KKK was started by Democrats to keep the Republicans out of power, because the Republicans were made up of black people. The Republican Party got started in Houston, Texas. In fact, when we talk about slavery, because I hear a number of black people talk about, well, we've been in slavery for the past 400 years. Well, Anthony Johnson in the 1600s was a slave owner, a black slave owner. He had indentured servants. Indentured servants, they're slaves as well. But you don't have the media talking about that, because the media's agenda was to get this president out of office. They were putting words of corruption. Let me change that. They were putting false information out there. They were omitting cases like Hunter Biden. They didn't pick up the womanizing that Joe Biden committed. In fact, one thing that's really, really, really crazy to me is his vice president, or his running mate, Joe Biden's, Kamala Harris, basically called Joe Biden a racist. But yet he goes and picks Kamala Harris to be the vice president. And see, the media is up here right now parading around saying that she is the first black vice president. She's not black, number one. She's Jamaican and she's Indian. But again, black people accept anybody who looks like them. They even accepted Obama. But one thing the media isn't talking about either is, how could Joe Biden, who never campaigned, end up with more votes than Obama? Now, I admit it, I voted for Obama. Obama was smooth talking. He knew how to draw a crowd. But Joe Biden, who's been in power for almost 50 years, gets on a Charlemagne show and says, if you don't know who you're going to vote for between me and Trump, you ain't black. He also said, if you vote Republican, they're going to put you back in chains. People forget about that. The media didn't bring that up. He talks about bringing America together. America's been divided since 2000 because that election was razor thin between George Bush and Al Gore. But the media only wants to bring up stories that favor them. Now, a lot of these individuals, such as Chris Cuomo, even George Stephanopoulos, they're being paid by big corporations. In fact, Fox yesterday, who's owned by Disney, suspended Jeanine Pirro for taking up for Donald Trump. Jeannie Pirro, Judge Pirro, correct? Judge Pirro is very articulate. She needs to go over to Newsmax. Dick Morris, who was with Fox, he's with Newsmax. Heather Nauert, she's with Newsmax. But again, getting into politics, we don't need celebrities as black men to represent us politically at all. We just need to know more about politics. Many of us as African Americans don't know about politics. And the media is in all the urban markets. And because the media is in every market, the media is basically controlling the narrative. The media is basically putting out information that they want us to hear. And it's up to us to research the information for ourselves. And see, a lot of the ignorance comes from individuals who are lazy. They don't want to do any research. They don't care about what's going on. They just want Donald Trump out of the office. But they don't look at the money he's provided for HBCUs. They don't look at the economy. There will never be another economy again like this one. Now, I know some people say the Obama administration second term helped jumpstart the economy. It may have, but it's the policies. And see, the media didn't focus on policy. The media focused on hate Trump. Joe Biden was treated with kid gloves. He was in the basement. He didn't campaign. Donald Trump worked. He deserves a second term. Joe Biden doesn't deserve a second term at all. Joe Biden stayed in the basement. Joe Biden can barely get 2 words together. But this really isn't about Joe Biden. Because in my heart, Joe Biden's really a moderate Democrat. The problem I have with his presidency is you got Kamala Harris. Then you got all these other socialists like Nancy Pelosi in the party that he represents. And in that party, you got all of your feminists, your establishment corporation types, your media, your education, the LGBTQ, and of course, you got most of your blacks. And that's another thing going back to blacks. Joe Biden said about black people. Black people aren't diversified enough. Their ideas, they're mostly, in my humble opinion, monolithic. But again, this video isn't about African Americans, but I had to put them in there because I'm very disappointed with African Americans and their behavior when it comes to politics. And here's my opinion about African Americans. The ones who want to maintain complacency and victimization, you got to leave them behind. They don't want money. They don't want entrepreneurship. They want government. Government is not your savior. And of course, many of them are watching the media. And you have a lot of people who believe that media. This is why they want to silence people like myself by calling my information disinformation. No, the real disinformation is the media. The media can project who's going to win each state, but the media does not certify the vote of who the actual president is. So right now, Donald Trump is still the president. The media doesn't want to tell you that. The media put it out there yesterday that they called the election for Joe Biden and everybody is celebrating. Everybody is celebrating for nothing right now because ignorance is bliss. Because if the Supreme Court comes down with these votes, those votes after Election Day could be null and void. In fact, Justice Alito has stepped in and he said that any vote that came in after Election Day has to be segregated from the votes that came in during Election Day. Because you have to look at this from a realistic standpoint. A number of the mail-in ballots, and I'm going to tell you this, were fraudulent. Signatures were wrong. There was no postmark. In fact, it may have been Michigan or Wisconsin. The post office was told to backdate the postmark date to Election Day. Well, right there, that's fraud as well. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this information out about the media, because the media wants to control the narrative. Can allow mainstream media to determine who the president is. Now, I know there are individuals that are going to say, well, the media called it for Trump. Hillary conceded. Trump is not conceding. But then Hillary didn't want to concede. But because the media called the presidency for Trump in 2016, the media thinks they can call the presidency here in 2020 for Biden. Now, the reason why Hillary never believed that Trump was a legitimate president, just like George Bush in his first term wasn't a legitimate president, is because Al Gore in 2000 and Hillary Clinton won the popular vote but lost the Electoral College. Now, if you take California and New York out of the mix, the Democrats will never win the Electoral College, a correction of popular vote. Why? Because the population of the urban areas allows the Democrats to take those states. But again, it's funny to me how some of the counties haven't been counted for in Arizona, but the Democrats wait till 4 in the morning to start counting all of the ballots in the urban areas. And the urban areas are Atlanta and Detroit and Phoenix. We all know that those areas go to Democrats. So what I'm telling you all is we're supposed to live in America. We're not in a dictatorship. This election is not over. And again, you can thumb the video down because you don't like what I'm saying. But if you don't have any concrete evidence on why Joe Biden should be president don't comment on my page. Because my page is for people who look at the issues. Look at the issues and they back what they say up on facts, not emotion. Again, we have a lot of ignorant people out here. These are the uninformed voters. They don't care anything about the country. They only care about getting Donald Trump out of office. And at the end of the day, America is not a dictatorship. But we, on the red team, have to continue to fight. Because the country is on the verge of collapsing. So my question to you is, do you want freedom or do you want a dictatorship? You answer the question. Because at the end of the day, we cannot live without liberty. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. If you like what I just presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. Also, you can donate. I'm not asking for donations, but you can donate. I have a Venmo, PayPal, and of course have a Cash App. Donations help me get better equipment. Now, I also have a blog talk radio show, 215-383-5785. But again, the donations are to get better equipment so I can produce a better show. Now, of course, if you cannot find me on Blog Talk Radio or YouTube, you can check me out on Twitter. I'm not going to post any more videos on Facebook. Individuals don't go to Facebook. So you can find me on Twitter, and I'm going to find another platform to post my videos to. Because at the end of the day, be blessed for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Always know that the sun rises in the east, sets in the west. Again, thank you for listening to my commentary, the 411 Talk Zone radio show, right here on YouTube. Till next time, my name is Leon Jones. I want you all to have a wonderful and gracious day. God bless you. I'm out.